Hey there, welcome to the latest episode of Hiker Homily. And today we're talking about urban hikes, although I've kind of done an episode on urban hikes a long time ago. This time, not just on urban hikes, just in general, what they are, but some of the things that I have realized or learned while on urban hikes. So the first thing I learned or realized is urban hikes were a thing. They really were. And I kind of touched on that when I first talked about them, about what is an urban hike. Just the fact that they were out there, I started looking around and like, well, I want to get back into hiking, but I got to get into shape for that. I got to put in some miles. Is there something I can do besides walk around my neighborhood on my sidewalks and stuff like that? And I knew there were city parks and stuff, but some of those, they're not very big. You're going to get in a quarter of a mile. You're going to go in a circle to get any kind of mileage in. That gets boring fast. How can I get in some miles? I started doing some research. And I was fortunate to live in a city, a community, that has rivers and part of the Delta system running through it. The city, as it has grown over all these sloughs and rivers and things like that. And wherever they've got levees to keep these rivers and sloughs in, a lot of the times they've put walking and biking paths on them. Awesome. So that was the big thing, is it's a thing. And as I started looking into it, it's become a real thing. There's a lot of cities that have done things like that. Even if they don't have the river system to have the levees and stuff, they have walking paths in their city. There's even some actual labeled urban hikes going on in some of the bigger cities that you can go on. And that's pretty cool. Now we'll get into some other things about urban hikes pretty soon, because I'm sure you can hear the noise in the background. That's one of the things you got to realize. It's an urban hike. You're not going into the bucolic woods where it's nice and quiet. You are still walking in the city limits and all that kind of thing. But just the fact that urban hikes were a thing, you can do it. And almost any community has the opportunity where you can go walking. And even if you don't have the set aside walking paths, you can do just like I said at the beginning. Walk on the sidewalks around your neighborhoods. Go to the city parks and do circles. If you got to get miles in to try and get yourself in shape, there's a way to do it. And an urban hike is one of those ways. So the next thing that I kind of picked up pretty quickly in urban hikes, and again, I'm going to do a little caveat that I'm talking about in my general area. I can't speak for other places, I really can't. Although I've done a few urban hikes in other towns when I've been on trips and stuff like that. For the most part, I'm talking about my area in the Central Valley. Is that despite being on an urban hike, you still have wildlife. And I put it in quotes, not because the animals aren't wild, but because it's kind of a minor thing for a lot of people. But there is wildlife out here, especially because this is part of the Delta system. The biggest thing of wildlife we get around here are the amazing amounts of birds. Absolutely incredible. Snowy egrets, blue herons, the occasional sandhill crane, even on some of these waterways. All kinds of different stuff like that. Various types of ducks, other types of waterfowl, other types of just regular birds. I've seen hawks out here. But other stuff too. You'll see the occasional raccoon. You're going to see things like that. I've seen signs of coyote out here, and I have actually seen, and I've gotten it on camera here and there, actual sea lions. Sometimes one or two will come up from the bay all the way into these sloughs and channels, because they know certain times of year that there's a lot of fish up here trying to come up here to spawn, and it's easy in these closed channels for them to catch them. So it's an easy meal, so they'll swim all the way up here for that. So I'm in the middle of the Central Valley, California, but there's sea lions in some of these channels now and then. It's pretty amazing for an urban hike to see something like that, because you don't expect it whatsoever. So there is that. It's kind of interesting that, I'm kind of in the middle of my city, on the outskirts of my city, but you still see quote unquote wildlife, you know what I mean? And that is kind of cool and helps make an urban hike more interesting. Speaking of wildlife, I turned the camera off too soon. About 2 minutes after filming the little segment about wildlife on the trail, I see a little disturbance in the water here in the channel behind me, and as you can see, I'm right in the middle of track homes. This is Bear Creek, and it has levees on either side, and it winds through 2 large subdivisions. And right back there, hunting fish, he came up to the surface. I was able to get him on video. A river otter. They're fairly rare out here. They used to be everywhere, of course, but since the city has encroached on the territory, they're not everywhere anymore, but they're still out here. I was able to see one. It's exactly what I was talking about. Hey, thanks. That's pretty cool. So, you see that tree that I had the camera pointed at? Full of citrus fruit. That's number 3 that I wanted to talk about. And I wanted to, and you can see some behind me that are still full. And again, the caveat, especially for this one, goes with, hey, this is generally for my area, not for other stuff, other places, because I don't know what it's like in other places. But at least in my community, holy mackerel, people around here seem to waste, especially citrus fruit, like nothing. It's just crazy. Now, in some types of citrus fruit, I get, living here in California, we grow a lot of oranges, lemons, things like that. So they're not very expensive in the store. But if you're going to plant a tree in your backyard that fruits, well, why don't you pick the fruit? I mean, even if you don't want to do anything with it, chances are you're going to know somebody who's going to want the fruit. Hell, you can donate it somewhere. We have fruit trees in our backyard, and my wife and I do all kinds of stuff with it. We do, we make jams. We have a lemon tree in our yard that gives us 2 full trees full of lemons every year. And, we pick those, and, our spring parties are known for the fresh made lemonade straight from the tree, basically. And things like that. But there's a lot of people who just seem to, they like those citrus trees. I don't know, maybe because some of them are, quote unquote evergreen. They always have leaves and stuff like that. But apparently it's not for the fruit, because they just let it go there. And some of these trees are like grapefruit trees. I've even seen a couple of pomegranate trees. You know how expensive pomegranates are? And you've got a tree full that you're just letting go to waste and go to rot? Holy mackerel. Yeah, so it's kind of puzzling to me, and as a person who really enjoys gardening, aside from hiking, and a person who likes to get in the kitchen with his wife to help, can different fruits and make neat treats and stuff like that out of the stuff we get from our garden, it absolutely baffles me how many, here we go, just on one small stretch of this creek. And there's a whole bunch on the other side of the river I can even see. There's you probably can't see it on the camera, but that tree over there, that's full of, I think, lemons. Looks like a lemon tree. It just blows my mind how much waste I see walking along these levee roads. And the trees that are planted along the backyard fences, so they're right next to the levee, just full of, and usually it's a citrus tree, just full of citrus, lemons, oranges, grapefruits, all kinds of other little ones, things like that, mandarins, just sitting there. They end up going to rot. I don't get it. Why are you planting that kind of a tree if you're just going to waste what it produces? But that's just one little personal urban hike thing. I don't know what it's like in other areas, but that's what it's like in this area, unfortunately. And finally, the last thing talking about urban hikes is when you get out here, you realize, and it's kind of a cool feeling, you're not alone. Now, I touched on a little bit, I know some people actually go hiking to get away from it all, to get away from people. And I do that to a certain extent myself. But I'm not hiking right now. I'm urban hiking. I'm training. I'm trying to just get miles in, get my feet used to, gotta watch out for those guys, get my feet used to walking miles. And so I have found that these levee paths that are made for bicycles, running, walkers, are perfect for that. Now, if I want to do actual practice going up and down hills, I'm not going to get that here in the flat Central Valley of California. I'm going to have to then travel and stuff like that. But the big thing is I'm out here, I'm getting some miles in. I'm training. So I'm not looking for the wilderness when I'm training. So I get it. People who say, "Oh, I hike to get away from people. I don't care if I'm not alone. It would drive me crazy having the dogs bark at me through fences and stuff like that." It's like, well, I'm sorry. But you don't hike all the time. Sometimes you got to train. If you are living in an area where you can just go hiking in the woods just like that, walk out your front door and you've got a trailhead, awesome. That's fantastic. But you got to realize the vast majority of people don't. In order to get some practice in and get some miles in, this is what they got to do. And so this is what we do. That's how it is. Some of these levees, the rivers go, Interstate 5 goes over them on a bridge. So you're going to cross under Interstate 5. There's a lot of noise and things like that. But for me, it's kind of a neat thing because I know that means there's people in my community that they're trying to get healthy too. They're trying to stay healthy. They're out here, they're bicycling, they're walking, some of them are running. And it's really nice that the community has that opportunity for people to do that and that people take that opportunity and use these things, utilize it. So, for some people that's not as important. For me, it is something that I have discovered while urban hiking. Is I'm not the only one out here walking on these things. People actually use these nice pathways for what they're supposed to be used for, and that's cool. As far as I'm concerned, it's pretty cool. So that's urban hiking, some of the things that it has shown me or I've learned from it. Comments or questions, as usual, are welcome at the usual places, including the email hikingforhealthca@gmail.com. Going to finish out. I'm going to end up doing 4 miles today. It's been nice. I see a snowy egret way out there getting ready to land. Like I say, it's kind of interesting. This is definitely an interesting type of urban hike. I understand that there's a lot of communities do not have this kind of thing. They don't have levee systems and things like that. But almost even the inner cities that I see in the Bay Area and things like that, when I did some research, they have walking areas and places you can go to take a stroll, even if it's on sidewalk and stuff like that. Yes, there's going to be people there. Yes, you're not getting away from it all. But if you just need to get on your feet and get moving and get some miles in, you can do it. Don't be like me when I first started again and thinking, oh, the only way I'll get walks in is if I drive 40, 50 minutes to some regional park somewhere and get in a walk. No, I literally drive 5 minutes, park at one of the local parks that hooks up with these levee paths, and I get on them and I go. 5-minute drive. So there we go. Urban hikes. Love them or hate them. I guess it's up to you, but I personally think they're great for just getting some basic miles training in, get my legs used to walking. I'm going to do different training when I want to work on my hill climbing and hill descending, things like that. Obviously, I'm not going to do that on a levee road like this. I'm going to go and find a place, but if I just want to get in miles, this is a place to do it. So that's about it, and that's Hiker Homily for this time. I will catch you later.